Hey everyone, Matthew Osborn here, and I'm here with Mike. Mike, do you go by Mike or Mikey?
Mike.
Mike McCarty, and we're going to be talking about his journey selling books, kind of setting his goals, going through the 100 book challenge, and kind of what he's accomplished with that. So, Mike, can you give us a little background, kind of who you are, where you live, and a little bit about what you do?
Sure, man. I'm from Alabama, born and raised here. Back in March of 2018, I was changing jobs, and I'm married with no kids. My wife and I were in transition, and started selling books in March of last year. And I also work a job in real estate right now.
That's awesome. So, what kind of got you down the track of selling books? What piqued your interest? How'd you find out about it?
Okay, so I've always been interested in reselling, and when I was younger, I did some eBay stuff. But in my previous profession, it just took so much of my time that I wasn't really able to really grab on to anything and get it going. I had an Amazon account several years ago, didn't do anything with it, and during the transition, I knew that I kind of wanted to actually try to do this full time, or at least definitely make it a side hustle. And so I guess it was January or February of 2018. I started trying to figure out how to do, some of the stuff on Amazon, how to, I was learning about FBA. And I thought at that time, I was like, I'm going to do retail arbitrage. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to go to do the clearance, the big box, and I'm going to learn as I go. I'm going to make a bunch of mistakes, but I'm just going to keep scanning and keep trying. So I did that. I did that for, I guess, about a month and a half. And, found some stuff. It wasn't easy, but, I found some stuff and learned the FBA process, sending shipments in. And then one day I was in one of those wholesale stores, like you see, like Big Lots. We have them around here. They're called Ollie's.
Yeah.
And so they had just brought in a big thing of books. They looked new. They were probably remainders. A lot of them were remainder, had the remainder marks. And, I'm just in there trying to do retail arbitrage. And I go to that big stack of books. They had thousands of them. And I just started scanning. And some of the first ones I scanned, I saw really big profit margins. I was like, this don't look right. Because, some of the retail products you don't really see, especially when you're scanning clearance, you don't really see those types of prices, those types of margins. And I just like, wow, that's interesting. So I bought a couple books that day. Didn't really think much about it, but it just got my mind going. I'm like, man, these books that I can't believe that they're this cheap and they can sell for this much. And that just kind of got me going. So I didn't even know at the time that you could even sell used books on Amazon.
Yeah, who buys books anymore, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was like,
That's what everyone thinks.
Who even know you could do that? And so there you go. I just started scanning the books, and then when I got home that night, I told my wife about it. I'm like, this is really interesting. I can't believe what I'm seeing right here. And then so yeah, I just started Googling used books, and you know where that road takes you. I mean, it's going to take you. It's going to take you to all the YouTubers and all the information. And man, it's just there's a wealth of knowledge out there, and that's
it definitely is. It can be confusing at times too, especially like you said, starting out. You said selling used books, you get so many different results. It can be tough to sort through sometimes.
And what was bad about it is for the first 2 months, so all I had was a seller app. I was trying to bootstrap it and try to keep the new business as cheap as possible. I didn't even know about scanning apps and databases, or I didn't know any of that. I was just going using the seller app, and I was having to individually each book try to analyze the data. And I'll tell you, it was hard at first. It was a lot of information to try to take in at one time.
Oh, definitely. Did you have much success then with selling those books just using the Amazon seller app? Did you kind of get your rhythm down of what you were looking for?
Okay, so basically, I mean, I guess it was like on a Saturday or Sunday, I found those books and then started doing the used book research. And then that was the beginning of March of 2018. And it was right around then I found the book flipping community and the blog. And then I found, a lot of the YouTube stuff with Caleb, with Reezy, and all these other guys that are so knowledgeable. And so I saw the blog post, the 100 book challenge. And I said, you know what? I've been out here. I've been trying to buy this, trying to read retail arbitrage. This sounds like something I can really grab onto.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just, I studied that blog post and everything else I could put my hands on, and then just went out there, started scanning with the Amazon seller app, and it was tough. I mean, it was tough, man. It was I was scanning everything, and I thought I was going fast, but I was actually going really, really, really slow. But
you used the camera on your phone too at the time.
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
I was using the camera on the phone, and I did learn how to use the the visual scan and stuff like that, how to scan the face covers. But I mean, so basically that night we're still working the other job, and I would leave work at 3 or 4 o'clock, and then just start going to thrift stores until they closed. And I would go in there and just basically just scan as much as I could, and I made a ton of mistakes, and it was really slow with the seller app, but they got me going. Yeah.
So for the 100 book challenge, did you actually set a goal of 100 books a week, or did you have a different goal you set at the beginning? How'd that work for you?
I went straight by the book there.
Straight by the book there?
Yeah, man. It was a 100 book challenge. I said, all right, I'm gonna do 100 books. And that's so I think the first week I got 100 or 101. The next week was like 97, but it was like, I'm gonna find 100. And I was living in Central Alabama at the time, and I was just hitting as many stores as I could in that little window that I had in the evening time to find those books. And it wasn't easy at the beginning to find the 100, but I did. That was the goal, to get 100. And then shortly thereafter, when I was doing that, I guess it was just a few weeks later, you started your challenge, and I thought it was really cool. I thought your videos were amazing because here I was doing the 100 book challenge, and here you are. You guys are the creators of ScoutIQ, and you guys do such a great job. And seeing y'all go through that challenge, and your model was more like my model. I think the other gentleman did the bulk model type deal, and you were doing
the bulk sourcing.
You were doing more cherry pick, and that's what I do. And so following your success and hearing some of your tips, you actually gave me the first tip about when you go to those stores, they got the color system.
Yeah, the little colors in the books.
That was one of your big tips early on for me to help me out. Knowing what books come out every week. That way, makes your scanning a lot more efficient.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah. When you were first starting going out, how much time do you think you're averaging a week? And did that kind of go down towards the end of the 12-week challenge, or?
No, I mean, I think, I was averaging I was trying to go every day. I mean, that's what I was trying to do. To hit the 100 in that little frame of time that I had from like 3 to 8, 3 to 9, I was doing that for the first, I guess from March, April, and May. I didn't even get a Bluetooth scanner until May. I mean, it was.
Wow. So you're doing all of this, finding the 100 books a week, just using your phone?
Yeah. And it wasn't.
Wow, that's impressive. That takes a lot of work.
I don't know.
As you know now.
It wasn't very smart, honestly, because I mean the apps and the scanner wasn't that expensive, but I was just hard headed and kept scanning with the scanning app. I thought I was going fast until I was in the thrift store one night and I saw a guy with ScoutIQ and a Bluetooth scanner, and he was blowing past me, and I said, "Wait a minute. What's going on right here? How is he going so much?"
Something's not right with this picture. So how much time do you probably spend per week?
I mean, I would say I tried to go every day for those first several months. I was trying to go, but I could only do it for the first couple months because I was doing the other job, but I could only do it like 4 or 5 hours. But I would say 4 or 5 hours a day, and I was trying to go, it was just in the spare time, and I can only go in the evening time, but trying to find 100 books with just the scanning app, with just the seller app. I mean, it took a lot of time. It took more time than it should have. It's not as hard these days.
So as Gary Vee would say, you were really hustling during this time. You were getting after it, putting in the hours each day.
Well, I was finally in a position where that I could actually start my own business and or at least try to get one going. I knew it was a long road, and it took a long time to get the ball rolling. As you know, when you're first starting your FBA journey, I mean, it's just to get the ball rolling is that's the hardest part. Once you get over that hill and that hump, you can start coming down. And you still feel a little bit better about but it's just learning the processes, learning the FBA system, learning what you can't do, learning the rules. So that was the biggest thing.
So what was your kind of aha moment when you figured out that this is going to work? I see the results. When kind of was that for you?
Well, I guess, let's see. I guess it was probably May is when I started, my first check. I mean, it was like, I had been sending books in for a month or a month and a half. My first check was like $75, after a month of doing it. But I knew that it was, that was due to the fact that I was shipping every week. I was just, my shipping costs were outpacing my sales a lot of times. But the aha moment, I would say, would have been, after a while, after about 2 or 3, 4 months, the income was starting to catch up with the shipping, the shipping costs and everything. But the aha moment was the moment that I knew that it was going to be a good deal. Was, you're out there, you're meeting people, you're scanning different stores. And I came across a guy, an owner of a local thrift store, and he basically, I was scanning the books on the back wall, and I didn't know he was the owner at the time. It was my first time in the store. He came out and he said, "Do you like books?" I'm like, "Well, yes, sir, I do." And he said, "Well, I've got a lot in the back." And he said, "I really don't want to do anything. I really don't know what I want to do with them." I said, "Well, can I take a look at them?" He said, "Of course you can." So he takes me to the back, and I asked him on the way, I said, "How many you got?" He said, 40 or 50,000. I said,
"Oh my goodness."
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, "Oh my goodness." And he took me back there, and it was just a warehouse in the back. It was a huge, 2 huge hallways lined up with, with old Gaylords and, like styrofoam, or not styrofoam, but just boxes full of books. And I was like, "Man, this is amazing." And he said, "Well, have at it." So I spent the day there and got a couple of buggies of books. When I was leaving, he basically gave them to me. I mean, he didn't hardly charge me anything.
That's amazing.
And then he said, and I said, "Sir, what are you going to do with all the books?" He said, "You know what? I don't know." He said, I might do a blowout sale, sell them 10 cents a piece, but we're changing businesses, and we don't really want to do this anymore." And I said, "Well, do you just want to get rid of them?" He said, "Yeah, I do." I said, "Well, I can get rid of them for you." And
I am your guy. I will take care of that.
And then he said, "Yeah, that'd be great, man." So I said, "I'll be here Tuesday." That was on a Saturday, and I rented a U-Haul, the biggest one they had, and I had somebody in my family had a big van, so me and a friend went up there and loaded 40 or 50,000 books into the U-Haul in the van and took it to storage. And that was the aha moment. I'm like, all right, this is going to work, because I knew all the books weren't going to be FBA worthy, but I knew that there was going to be some winners, and I knew that I was going to be able to start increasing my shipping. And that was really jumping off point.
So was at that point you knew it was going to be profitable and a great workout, right?
Yeah, definitely a great workout. And we got that all done in one day too. It was just me and another guy, and it was a lot of work. But
did you have a pallet jack, or were you actually just lifting boxes of books into a?
Well, when I first got, I didn't even know how to use a pallet jack. I saw it there. I'm like, I don't know how to use this thing, so I'm just going to start carrying books out. And he showed me how to use it, and then, but yeah, we had pallet jacks, and we were carrying them out of there. But yeah, I've also learned over time that books are really, really heavy, and so anything that you can do to alleviate, stress on your back or anything like that, because it can be tough. So you always want to try to look for ways to make it easier for yourself.
So that experience kind of was your first intro almost into like the bulk sourcing model then, right?
It also was my first experience to let me know I'm probably not made for the bulk sourcing model. I think I'll probably stick to the cherry picking type model, but it's if I come across something like that again, I would probably definitely take advantage of it. But it is a ton of work. But it gave me a crash course. I mean, it took me, I was doing it by myself. I was scanning the books. It gives you a crash course. You scan 40 or 50,000 books in a matter of a few weeks, you're going to learn something about books and what type of books that you want to look for. And so that was not only was it like a jumping off point, an aha moment, and just a blessing, it was also an educational experience.
How many books out of those do you think were actually ended up being keepers? Do you have any idea?
I would say less than 10%. Probably closer to
10%, even like a 5% is probably average on a little less than that. So that's pretty amazing.
That's what I would say. It was probably between 6 and 10%.
So I think it was before we started actually recording this, but you'd said something about the challenge never stopped for you. You're still on that journey, still doing the challenge. How is that kind of morphed into what you're doing now? What type of sources? Do you have relationships built up, or is it the same kind of cherry picking model?
Well, I mean, to me, I think that you can have success in the cherry picking. You know how a lot of people talk about, if there could be a lot of competition around you and you got to worry about people doing what you do. I'm going to tell you right now, I believe wholeheartedly that there's really, in the cherry picking model, you can reduce competition by getting on the road. The more that you move around, the more sources that you find and that you create for yourself. You got to, to me, if you want to do this, you can stay the cherry picking model, as long as you want to do it, but you're not going to be able to stay in one location and do it unless you just have a tremendous source. I do have relationships with some libraries that are local. I do have relationships. I do know some people in the thrift stores, but I don't have what you would call like set up models where I go pick up books from them or anything. I'm really just trying to stay on the road. I'm a lot more selective with the books that I pick these days, and that makes it to me, I enjoy that more. I like being on the road.
Yeah. So when you say be on the road, are you just traveling out a little bit further, or are you actually like getting in an RV type thing, traveling other states and stuff?
Well, actually this summer will be the first time that I actually do that I get like far out of state. I mean, the furthest, when I say travel, I mean, no matter where you're at in our country, generally speaking, unless you're just in a tremendously rural area, there's within 2 hours, you're going to find a lot of places. So if you're willing to drive 2 hours, I don't care where you live in Alabama. I live in Alabama. This is not a very populated state. So if you're willing to drive 2 hours, you can find plenty of sources. And so that's basically what I still do. I'm not opposed to, creating those long-term relationships. And I certainly look for openings if those opportunities present themselves, but I don't really go out seeking them.
Yeah, no, I love that you say that, because a lot of people see the cherry picking model as, oh, there's too much competition, I'm just not even gonna get into it. But like you said, you just have to be a little smarter than the competition and go further than they would be willing to go. Like anyone with a phone and some money can buy a subscription and start scouting, but you know better than them where to go, how to do it, and then you can make cherry picking work for you if you just, like you said, know how to do it.
Once you have an idea of, and to me, the selecting game is a lot more fun these days because, I have certain types of genres that I look for. It's just, back in the day, it's not a scan everything anymore. Now it's a go in there, go to where I feel like the good books are going to be, and then scan. If there's nothing there, then I'll do some, little searching somewhere else and maybe in another area. But if there's nothing there, I'm gone. You can't spend a lot of time in the same place. It's just really, you end up wasting your time. If you go to a place that's like really old books, like that, you may not have a lot of luck there. You may just need to, spend a little time there and then keep moving.
So your sourcing model then isn't go in and scan every book possible. You're really judging with your eyes, seeing what's there, and you're kind of making some quick decisions whether it's going to be worth it or go on to another source. I
think it's tremendous advice to give somebody who's just starting this to scan everything. I think that's tremendous advice. However, as you start scanning and learning, it's important, or you'll start understanding what type of books are going to be good books. You'll gain a knack for it. Certain titles and genres and authors, all these things play a part. I say at the beginning, scan everything as fast as you can, as much as you can. But as you get going, I think you need to slow down. I mean, do you really want to know what kind of books you need to be looking for or want to look for, the books that are great for sale on Amazon? You need to slow down. You need to scan as much as you can, but slow down, read a title, feel the book, see what makes that book that book. And, and I can't tell you how many of the same books and the same titles and the same authors I've sold over time, because I just recognize them now.
Do you do a lot of book sales?
Library sales?
Yeah, library sales. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of my favorite.
So when you walk into a library sale, what is your go-to section? You can pick anything. Where do you head?
History, religion, philosophy, military history. That's where I'll head first. Then I'll make my way to textbooks. I don't really deal with textbooks. When I first started, I really liked textbooks. I've kind of moved away from textbooks. I don't really even. I mean, if they're there, I'll scan them and I'll pick them up if they're there. But generally, just nonfiction.
So what's making you kind of stay away from textbooks a little bit?
I don't avoid them entirely, but I did, because when I first started in March, I did get the popular textbook email that a lot of people got. It didn't stop me from selling textbooks. In fact, I'm not really restricted in many textbooks that I scan. There's very few that I scan nowadays that I can say that I'm restricted, but I just really just focus on nonfiction.
Yeah, that's great. You found the niche that works for you and you're sticking with it.
Yeah.
I like it. So how does listing look for you? How did it kind of look for you in the beginning? Was it a challenge for listing? And have you kind of simplified that process or streamlined it and made it your own?
Yeah, that's the thing that you'll learn over time as you do this too. in this book business, there's definitely a bunch of different elements to it that you need to figure out, streamline it, making it as efficient as you can. But yeah, when I first started, I was doing everything through Seller Central. All the listing, I was listing them individually. I mean, I listed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books in Seller Central, and it was really, really slow. And I think the first thing I got was ScoutIQ, was in May, and then in June, I think in June I got the repricer, and then right as I got the I got the repricer, and I use Accelerlist, and now I through the course of the week I'll bring my books in, and I'll store them in a room, and then when it's time to list, I'll do my conditioning. I have a process of how I condition the books, and so I have I set up different conditions, and I will get my books and I'll take all the stickers off. I'll clean them all up. I know some people don't deal with that, but I do. I think I like it. I like doing it. Take all the stickers off, and then I condition the books by by their condition. Do any minor repairs that might need to be made, and then I'll list them by condition with Accelerlist, and then upload them. I still use version 1 of Accelerlist and use the bulk model, and I still make all my shipments through Seller Central. I haven't made it a shipment through a third-party software yet.
Oh, really? So you just found that's what's most effective for you, and that's what you enjoy the most, because you have that repricing that are working too. So you price higher, then you have the repricer go through and do the work.
Yep, I do that. I have a set number that I use through Accelerlist, and then reprice it takes over from there. Now,
so I'm curious, do you have any idea how long it would take you using that model to do, let's say, like 100 books? How long it normally takes you to list them?
Now, if you're talking about just listing them, are you talking about from the time that I'm doing the conditioning as well, or are you talking about just the list, just after I've got them conditioned and separated to list?
So let's just say from conditioning them until they're in a box out the door type, the whole full process of listing.
What I love about doing this, because I try to treat it, it's still not, it's not my full-time deal. So I try to have days, like I'll have a day of sourcing, and then maybe I have 2 or 3 days in a row of sourcing. And then the next day when I get home, I'll have a big pile of books, and then I'll have an evening or a day when I'll condition, and I'll do all the stickers and all the stuff that needs to be done to put those books in their respective categories. And then so I'll do a day of that, and then the very next day I'll do the listing and the labeling, and then the next day I'll ship them out. It's just kind of
the whole process for you. Then, yeah, you set aside the time for each individual step type thing.
Because I'm doing it by myself. I haven't hired anybody. This has been a one-man deal. I just separate days. Just makes it easier for me, and that way, when I first started, I was trying to do like it all at the same time, and it was it was frustrating, especially when I didn't know what I was doing. It took a long time to get shipments out and stuff, but yeah, it's just an easier way to do it for me anyway.
Yeah. What are your kind of future plans for your business right now? Are you trying to maintain it, or are you really trying to grow it right now? What kind of is your goal right now?
Well, I have, there's certain numbers that I have that now that, the sales are fairly consistent, but obviously I want to grow. And that's why I've got some weeks blocked off for the summer to really get out there and get past the Southeast and hit the road. Try to do a couple of months going into the fourth quarter of just really, really hitting it hard. And that's what I did last year around this time was, just making a push for the fourth quarter, trying to get as many books in there as I can before Christmas. And then hopefully the sales will reflect the work I put in.
Yeah. So your kind of big goal for growing your business, kind of expanding your geographical reach of where you're sourcing books from.
That's right. Now, I could always try to hire somebody, but it's just right now it's just enjoyable. I don't feel like I have to hire somebody, but at the same time, I know that a lot of people would say that's crazy, and I would grow a lot faster if I did. But I think for me right now, just getting on the road and expanding my geographic footprint is my next goal.
No, I think that's great, because I think one thing about books that you don't always have to keep growing. You can have a business, you can have the goals, then kind of keep it where you enjoy it. The couple I was just interviewing, said that they have an inventory of 1,000 and their goal is to keep it at 1,000. That's what they want. They know the consistent income from it, and that's their goal, and it works for them. Everyone doesn't have to hit 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 books in inventory to have a successful business. Yeah, it's like you said, it's kind of what you're defining it at the moment. You're enjoying it, so that's great.
Yeah, I mean, what works for you is what works for you, and everybody's different. Everybody's in a different place. And, it's a lot of fun right now. I would hate to do something and it became not fun anymore.
Yeah, it became another job for you. Yeah.
You want to keep it enjoyable.
So there's a lot of people right now that are probably going to be listening to this or will listen to the future that are in a similar situation to where you were when you started. They're working a full-time job, but they have desires to make a side income or maybe even make that their full-time income eventually. But it's tough. Like you said, you're working a full-time job, you're getting off at 5 o'clock at night. Kind of what tips would you give to those people just starting out that you wish you would have had back when you were starting out?
Well, I think the key when you're first starting out, if this is what you decide to do, if you're interested in the 100-book challenge or the 50-book challenge or the 25-book challenge for that matter, the bottom line is I think for somebody just starting out is to don't get discouraged by your sales at the beginning, and just you've got to remain the course and be consistent, and just make sure that just because you send a couple of shipments in, you're not getting any sales. That's going to happen, but you just stay consistent. If you've got the goal, stay on target for that goal, and keep scanning.
I love that. You use ScoutIQ now, you said, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's the only thing I've ever used.
So how has ScoutIQ kind of helped you along the way? Do you have your triggers adjusted specifically for you now? Have you kind of made those changes, or?
The triggers, the included triggers are amazing. All I've done is I just lowered the trigger, the target profit down. I mean, I probably get a higher accept rate just because I've lowered the target profit, but I'm looking at every book. I am analyzing each one. The buy cost I think I got the buy cost at 150. I think that's about the average of my buy cost. But ScoutIQ has been amazing for me because I don't really have any other judgments on the other apps. I never used them, but this one's been great. So I don't plan on stopping using it. But ScoutIQ is kind of like when you're scanning, you're in a dark room, but the ScoutIQ gives you a flashlight. You know what I mean? And And when I'm out there, you're still going to be out there and you're still going to scan a book and you're going to be like, should I buy this or should I not buy this? Should I buy this? Should I not buy this? And, there are going to still be those times that you run into that. I think it's important at that time that you have your own personal, mental triggers of your own, because you're going to have to make a buying decision and you don't want to spend a whole lot of time doing it. So you've got your triggers on ScoutIQ, and that's great. But at some point, you're going to have to make a buying decision, and it's good to have mental triggers. When I first started, one of my mental triggers was I didn't want to buy a book that I couldn't offer for sale on Amazon for less than $17. When I first started, I had a higher ASP than I do now. It's went down considerably since then. But so that was one of the mental triggers. Another one is actually this is more ScoutIQ. It's something that I just made up. I don't know if it's any good or not, but it works for me. And I call it the 1/3 rule. So you won't. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
The 1/3 rule for me is when I look at a book and I'm scanning it, I want the e-score to be at minimum 1/3 of the amount of the total used offers available. So if you've got a book that has an e-score of 10 or a book that has 30 total used offers, you want your e-score to at least be 10. And all that does is it doesn't really mean much except for the fact that you know that your book's going to be competitive in the marketplace. And I want to know that my book's going to be, at least I know that historically the book's had a chance to sell. So that's just a mental trigger. It may be the dumbest thing in the world. However, it's worked for me.
That is interesting. So the books that have a lower e-score, ones obviously that are selling less frequently, you just want the number of sellers to be lower than if it was selling all the time, right?
That's correct. So I mean, if there are over 100 used offers, I like to see the e-score, way up there, 33, 35, something like that. I want the e-score to give, you want to see that the book is sold in the past. You want to give yourself a chance to be in that competitive marketplace. You want to give your. No,
I really like that.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for coming on here and doing the interview and everything, answering these questions. I think it's been really insightful to see just how much effort you put in at the beginning. I really like your story because at the very beginning, like you said, you were using the app, you were listing manually one by one, but you stuck with it and you did a lot of work. Like you said, you're working a couple hours every single night. I love that perseverance. A lot of people wouldn't have that perseverance. So I think that's going to be inspiring. And it's inspiring to me to see that you put in that much effort, even without all the tools at the beginning. So it's great that you're able to do that and take on the challenge and keep going and build your business to what it is. It's really been inspiring to hear that story.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you having me on today. And I really appreciate that, what you and Caleb and the guy and what y'all do is amazing. This is the book flipper community. The book flipping community is really cool. On the Facebook group, there's a lot of people that have a lot of knowledge, and what you guys do is amazing. I mean, you've really made my job, the learning curve has been cut tremendously. And so I can't be thankful enough to you guys.
Oh, I love that. Thanks for saying that. But I don't want you to go empty-handed. You took your time out of your day to do this. So can you see the shirt I'm wearing right now?
I can. I like that.
It says, just scan it, and it has a barcode there. It actually is the barcode for margin of safety. Have you seen that book out before?
I have seen the book out there, yes.
Yeah.
I haven't bought it, but
we thought it was fitting for the most sought-after book on there.
Yeah, that's the one that's impossible.
I will send you one of these shirts, and also this video is in a way kind of almost sponsored by Ayoyo. Have you seen those scanners on Amazon?
I have, yeah.
You have, yeah. So they want to send you a free scanner for taking the time out to do this. So I'll be sending you one of these shirts, and I'll be sending you a free Bluetooth scanner to add to your collection, maybe give to someone else to help them get started. But yeah, I'll be sending both those to you as a kind of thank you for jumping on here with me. I appreciate it.
That's amazing, Matthew. I appreciate it. I'm humbled by the opportunity.
How can people get in touch with you if they maybe want to ask you some more questions or kind of follow along with your journey?
Well, they can email me. Like I said, I'm not extremely active on social media, but you can give them my email address. That's McCarty, McCarty, M2. That's the letter M and the number 2 at live.com. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Awesome. I'll include that email in the description below for those of you watching. And also I'll include a link to that Ayoyo scanner so you guys can check it out if you want to see what that's all about. It's a great low-end scanner if you're just getting started and don't want to put a ton of money towards something. So it's a great one to look at. So thanks again, Mike, for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you again in the near future.
Thanks, Matthew. Appreciate it, man. Have a good day.